Hello! Welcome to another episode of Gems, the podcast where you get all the tools you need for your epic glow up. Relax, whip up a delicious treat, and let's talk. I think that it is such a shame that this age is the age of convenience, and we are the generation most reluctant to connect with one another. I mean, think about it. Back then, it was way harder to meet new people and make new friends outside of your little town or little village. In order to meet new people or connect with them, you would have to travel away from where you live. You would have to go either on horseback, camel, even on ship for how many days. And if you leave that place where you've met your friend or companion or whatever, you would have to communicate by writing letters. Yet, their quality of life is way better than ours in terms of human connection. Now, everything is so easy that we have something to communicate our reluctance to communicate without even saying anything. And you know what they are? AirPods. So easy, so quick. You see that on a person and you know. Now, it is common sense not to disrupt the person wearing AirPods. And if you do, it's understandable why you would get a dirty look or a nasty stare because, well, it was obvious, right? Don't communicate to me. Don't talk to me. The AirPods, the Bluetooth earphones are on. And this is just one way that we show our reluctance to communicate. And despite the AirPods and our reluctance to leave our homes, the comfort of our homes, and our just reluctance to feel discomfort by meeting new people, we are still the cohort, the generation that craves that deep connection and new friendship, that genuine person to person or group of people that love and support us. And it's hard to deny that we long for that. So I think that we need to relearn the very first life skill we have ever learned in childhood. And that is to make friends. And I want to dedicate this episode not just to making friends, but also maintaining our adult friendships. And just to disclose, for transparency's sake, I too am preaching to myself today. So let's get started. A big part of adulthood is learning and knowing how to communicate. And if you're wondering why this is important, I've discussed it in the previous episode, The Secret Weapon to Success. Go listen to that if you haven't already. But with that said, let's get to relearning. I'm going to give you 4 ways to make and maintain your adult friendships. Now I'm going to make it even easier for you by breaking them down into this acronym, CARE. I call it GEMS CARE method because apparently there's already a CARE method. Communicate clearly, accept and appreciate, reach out to old friends, and lastly, embrace vulnerability. Let's go through them one by one. Communicate clearly. Looking at how people communicate nowadays reminds me of one of the most hilarious but unsettling scenes I've had to sit through This scene I'm talking about is from the show Young Sheldon, which is a spin-off of Big Bang Theory. And no, I am not a fan of Big Bang Theory, nor have I watched any episode of the original series, but I quite like this show. But to keep it short and brief, the show fleshes out this childhood of Big Bang Theory's main character, Sheldon, and the consequences that he and his family had to go through having this socially awkward young genius in the family. So, in this particular scene, Sheldon's mom is worried about her son, who is a 9-year-old who had just freshly entered high school and he has no friends. Now, let me know if this part sounds familiar, okay? So all of this was going on. His mom is following him to school, making sure her baby's okay. And then Sheldon has this monologue. And he says something along the lines of, "What my mother doesn't realize is that I find more comfort in solitude than with other people." But he wants to make his mother's wishes come true, or he feels compelled to make his mother calm down. All right. So, what he tries to do, this is where the disaster starts. He does his best, his very, very best, to make friends. So, during this time, he has this mindset: I don't really need friends, but mom says I need them, so I'll have to make them. Sounds familiar? I don't really need friends, but society tells me I do, so I'll go and make some. I guess I'm going to reluctantly find friends then. Ugh.
Hey there, Sheldon. What can I get for you today? Chemistry, quantum mechanics, astronomy?
No, nothing fun today. I need to learn how to make a friend.
So what he does, he goes to his school library and checks out Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Reads it cover to cover, scrutinizes it, and it's obvious that in theory, he understands the concepts completely. But what he doesn't understand is the nuances and different dynamics that goes behind interpersonal communication. One of his funniest scenes where he attempts to make friends with someone was when he was talking to this one cheerleader, and she was she was this popular, good-looking cheerleader in her whole, uniform, and he goes up to her and goes like, "Well, good morning." And she was so freaked out, and immediately he says, "Would you like to be friends?" And you guys can already guess, with the fact that he is a 9-year-old boy and she is like a 16-year-old popular cheerleader, that of course she was going to say no. But still, he further tries to convince her by being friends with him by saying, "Well, I do admire your boldly applied makeup." And at the end of that scene, we have a frustrated Sheldon and an offended cheerleader. And throughout this time, Sheldon is just wondering, because he's at this point, he's already attempted multiple times on multiple different people how to make friends. And he's wondering, well, I'm applying everything that the book says. Why aren't these tactics working? This is an extreme case, obviously, but the perfect example of how people approach communication in friendships. We know what to do, or at least we should know what to do, but we are communicating under the assumption that the person we are communicating with will get our message. As long as I have the right words to say and show the right actions, then they'll absolutely get it. And if not, then something's wrong and it's not me. That is incorrect, I'm afraid. There is this quote from this book called Surrounded by Idiots by Thomas Erickson, and I highly recommend you read it. And it says, communication takes place on the listener's terms. Not on your terms, the listener's terms, okay? When you have a message that you want someone to understand, you have to first listen and understand that person and their stance. When you communicate this message, you need to have this person in mind. What works best for them? Now, of course, you aren't a mind reader. You're not going to get them 100%, but at least your listening and your understanding of this person will make it much easier than if you just assume that the way you would deliver it would make them get it. Okay? Having your ego in mind will make them go. Accept and appreciate. There is this concept called cultural centrism. And this concept is well known among the sociology, anthropology, and cultural studies fields. And this concept is the tendency to view and evaluate others' cultures, based on one's own standards and views from their own culture, often believing that their own culture is superior. You can find a plethora of examples throughout history, but one of them is, World War II and Germany and that whole event that transpired. Mainly Jews, but other minority groups also included, were persecuted and dehumanized for not meeting the standards and beliefs of the quote unquote superior race. Another example is ancient Chinese civilization, where during the peak of ancient Chinese success, they were called the Middle Kingdom. And you can actually see that by how it's written in Chinese, by the way. But anyway, they were called the Middle Kingdom, and the emperor was considered the son of heaven. And the other countries that were not Chinese, the surrounding countries, were considered by the Chinese as, inferior. And in order to be in China's good graces, in order to be considered an official state or be mentioned as someone worth high status, there was this tributary system where, if you acknowledge the emperor and the courts and all of that, then you will be mentioned in our courts. Something like that. And this tributary system was basically, Korea, Japan, the Ryukyu Kingdom, which is basically Okinawa now, and even some European countries participated in this and giving tributes to China and especially the emperor. Now, why am I giving you a history crash course on cultural centrism? Well, because this is the attitude that we have towards others who are different from us. What we see now in our current political climate, internationally or domestically, or throughout our multicultural relations throughout history, is a clear picture of the essence of human nature. It is a macro level example of how we treat people who are different from us. And what is society without humans? Don't worry, I have some micro level examples for you as well. A survey done in 2024 showed that 22% of iPhone users admitted to thinking less of someone after seeing a green bubble. That is the green blue bubble, that where the green bubbles are the Android users, while the blue bubbles are the iPhone users. So that means that once they found out that 22% of these people, once they found out that the person they are texting has a green bubble, they immediately got the ick. That same study showed that 23% of people who see green bubbles consider it a dating deal breaker or a red flag. Another one is differing political affiliations. I have a friend who one night when we were all drinking with my friend group, she declared that she would never be friends with someone from the other side of the political camp. And unfortunately for her, I am on the other side. And I mean, I would have told her if she asked me, but I didn't think it was appropriate to say it at that time, especially since I considered her a very good friend. And I repeat that both extremes of both sides are guilty of this behavior. What we don't realize is that, yes, okay, we know that diversity is a good thing. Embracing people who are different from us is a good thing. But I think that our society is taking more of a tolerant stance rather than an accepting and appreciating stance. So what is the difference? Tolerating is, well, I don't like this aspect of this person. I don't like this part of this person, but I'm just going to ignore it for now and pretend it doesn't exist until I actually have to. And just like the parts that I actually do enjoy from this person. But what we don't notice is that over time, as you notice more things you don't like about this person, your negative emotions and your negative thoughts are going to build up. And that will lead you to develop contempt towards this person. Let's try this. Think of someone you strongly dislike. Not, and I don't mean just someone, well, oh, they did this they did this thing, so I should probably avoid them. Not that kind of person. A person you strongly dislike. Okay. You can pause to take a minute to think if you want. So, the question is, what is it that they did that made you strongly dislike them? Is it just one thing? Your likely answer is no, it is not just one thing. I know the person that I have in mind, I have a whole no-no list for this person. They invalidate my opinion. They ignore me when nobody's looking. They constantly humiliate me. And they do it in a discreet manner. And when I point things out, I point their bad behavior, they act as the victim. These kinds of things. If your answer is that there's only one thing that this person did, then lovingly I tell you, there are two likely reasons for that. The first one is that you are so insecure of yourself that you did not develop the capacity to forgive others. And that includes yourself. The second one is that this one thing that this person did to you is an absolutely atrocious, absolutely hideous thing that they did, that everyone around you would have to consider it a moral injustice. I'll leave that up to you to figure out whether it's one or two. So now the question is, how do you accept and not just tolerate someone? How do you fully accept this person? Whether it is a new friend or someone you've known for a long time, the method is the same. The first step to accepting and appreciating someone comes from how much you know and how much you accept yourself. In order to build this capacity to accept someone, you have to fully know and accept your boundaries, your emotional wounds. Do you fear being abandoned? Do you have a betrayal wound? Those kinds of things. You have to do the self-reflection and get to know and accept yourself. The second thing you should do is to actually know and understand this person that you are trying to connect with and understand their worldview, their boundaries, of course, and their stance and their thoughts. If you find things that you don't like about this person, ask yourself this question. Do I dislike blank about this person because it's different from what I know? Or do I dislike this about this person because it poses a threat to my mental health and to my future? And if you find that it's the former, then try to get to know this person more. Try to understand the differences that you have, the dislikes that you have, because you'll never know. This person might be your biggest ally in the future. Okay. R, reach out to old friends. I'm going to go a bit personal on you for this one, but it's to prove my point. My best friend, we have been best friends since high school. And during, I guess, my third year of high school, I skipped my junior year. We were in the same grade level until I skipped my junior year and went on with my senior year. And ever since then, we kind of drifted apart. And I went on to graduate and moved on to college. She did her own thing. And somehow the communication between us kind of got lesser, became lesser, excuse me, kind of decreased. It got to the point where I thought, well, I guess she's not my friend anymore. She and I are in completely different paths. I don't know why she stopped talking to me. And I've thought this for a while until one day I received a message from her. And she was going to get married. And so she told me the big news. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting married. You have to come to my wedding." And initially I was like, "Oh, really? Me?" And the next thing that she told me really changed my opinion on everything. And what she said was, "You know, I want you to be my maid of honor because you're my best friend. Nobody else can do it. I mean, I have another person in mind, but I don't really want this other person in mind. I just want you. I want you to do it because you're my number one best friend." And I had to rethink every single one of my decisions after she said that. And it made me realize, I'm getting all teary because I still remember this, and it was really a big moment in my life. But I realized that, wow, while I was here thinking these things, she has been nothing but loyal to me. And all I had to do was reach out. So you might have the same thing. And oh man, I'm getting here. Give me a second. I can't believe I'm actually crying while I'm recording. I did not expect this. Reach out to those people who you thought once were very close to you, because you'll never know. Do a pulse check, do everything. Remember the good times and reach out, and you'll really never know what you'll get. I'm crying. At least you guys know I'm genuine. Excuse me. I had to recalibrate there. Our last letter is E. Embrace vulnerability. Just like with our previous points, the very first thing to embracing your vulnerability starts with you. Yeah. Starts with yourself. But I'm not here to preach over and over and over to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. No. I think you guys already get the picture. I mean, you as an adult should already know this, actually. And if you don't, now you do. And now that that's out of the way, what exactly is vulnerability? To look at the actual definition of it, I'm going to give you one from the Oxford English Dictionary. Vulnerability is the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed either physically or emotionally. Let me repeat this part. The quality or state of being exposed. Now, what does this mean? It means being truthful, because the truth hurts not just the other person, but also yourself. Let's break this down even more. What does the state of being truthful look like? Well, I think there are 3 parts. That is self-authenticity, kindness towards others, and expecting pain. And all of these go hand in hand with each other. Let's actually take a look at kindness towards others first, because this isn't the kindness that you know where you're just singing kumbaya and holding hands with your other friends. It's more difficult than that. Do you know the difference between being nice and being kind? The CEO of Snapchat, Evan Spiegel, explains this very clearly in his interview with Stephen from The Diary of a CEO. And he brings up this illustration of someone having spinach stuck on their teeth. Would you be the kind person and tell them that they have spinach stuck on their teeth? Or would you be nice and prevent hurting someone else's feelings by leaving it alone and hoping that they would find out one way or another? Are you actually helping them by being nice to them? What's for sure is that you're not being truthful to them. You cannot be kind and not be truthful. Oh, but I would offend them if I said that. It would make them feel so bad. This is where people get it wrong. You can be truthful and not be kind. But you cannot be kind if you are not truthful. And that applies to whether it's someone else or to yourself. And this is where self-authenticity comes in. Don't be nice to them, because that's just you putting on a mask or an act. That's not your real thoughts. That's not the real you. And think of it this way. If you are truthful to this person, you being truthful to this person, you will see how they will react to that, how they will treat you. And that truthfulness will be your filter to see whether or not this person can be a lifelong friend or someone who is going to leave you at one point. And this is where talking about pain and accepting and expecting pain is important. Because if we're all truthful to ourselves, us being nice to someone is a way for us to evade rejection. Because when somebody hears the truth and they don't like it and they end up rejecting you, that hurts. It hurts. But think of it this way. When you exercise, you go to the gym and you, after working out and pushing your body through the limit, end up having sores all over your body hurts. And what your body is going to do during the time where you take proper rest, proper nutrition, and a good amount of sleep, your body is going to repair itself. Your broken muscle tissue is going to reconnect, and you are going to be stronger and get better muscles. And here's the thing that you need to notice. When you go to the gym, you expect to suffer and experience some sort of pain. Your emotional muscles are the same way. You will inevitably face some sort of pain when dealing with other people. So you need to view pain as muscle training. You gotta do it. And that is a very important part of embracing vulnerability. So we are now done going through all letters of Jem's care method. Now, before we wrap up this podcast, we are going to get your questions for the week or every other week or however often this podcast is going to go out. Do you find yourself struggling when communicating with other people? Have you ever thought about which parts you dislike about your close friends and why you dislike them? When was the last time you've reached out to an old friend? How much have you worked out your emotional muscles? I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Jem's Gems. If you like this episode or this podcast in general, then don't forget to rate, comment, like, subscribe, whatever it is you need to do to support this podcast. And until the next episode, just keep being a better you. I will see you next time. Bye.